I'm Ben Rogers, the co-founder and chief executive of Hong Kong Watch, and I very strongly support the calls for a boycott of the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, a regime that is committing genocide against the Uyghur people in the Xinjiang region of China. Should not be a regime that hosts the Olympic Games. The situation of the Uyghurs has been recognized as a genocide by a growing number of governments and parliaments and other entities around the world. The US government, the Canadian, British, Dutch, Belgian, Lithuanian, and Czech parliaments have described it as a genocide, and an increasing number of experts have done the same. A regime that has destroyed and dismantled Hong Kong's freedoms in complete breach of an international treaty should not be allowed to host the Olympic Games. A regime that has for decades conducted severe persecution in Tibet and is intensifying its crackdown in Tibet should not host the Olympic Games. A regime that commits forced organ harvesting from prisoners of conscience, a regime that persecutes Christians, a regime indeed that is carrying out the most severe crackdown on Christians since the Cultural Revolution, a regime that locks up any form of dissent and has cracked down on civil society, citizen journalists, bloggers, anyone who stands up to criticize or call out the Chinese Communist Party regime disappears or is imprisoned. And that is a regime that should not host the Olympic Games. So for all those reasons, I strongly support calls for action to boycott the Beijing Olympics. Ideally, the Olympics should be moved to another location, a location that is acceptable to the world and that a country that respects human rights. But if the games are not going to be moved, then we need to put as much pressure as possible to have a boycott. At a minimum, there should be a diplomatic boycott. Government officials, VIPs, royalty, heads of state, and other dignitaries should not go to the Olympic Games. There should be a consumer boycott. Tourists, spectators should not travel to China for these games. There should be pressure on commercial sponsors of the games. I don't personally call for a sporting boycott because I think that is a decision for the conscience of every individual athlete. But I would appeal to athletes to consider whether they want to participate in a games hosted by a regime with this appalling human rights record. So I support this campaign, and I hope that you will join us in putting pressure on the international community and on the regime in China in the run-up to the 2022 Winter Olympics. Thank you very much.